Welcome to the AmeLiaRun channel. My name's AmeLia. Today I'll be reviewing the Brooks Ghost Max 3. This is a shoe I purchased for myself in my size of 8.5M from a local sporting goods store. Like all my reviews, I'll be going over the nerdy details of the shoe, as well as discussing fit, predicting durability, ride, versatility, and value of the shoe. This is made with the hopes of creating an accessible resource that can assist runners of all levels of experience in their search for the right fit. My reviews are always time-stamped for easy reference regardless of where and when buyers are shopping. Diving into the details here, the nerdy details for the Brooks Ghost Max 3. This is a max cushion shoe. It is 10.7 ounces. It is a hefty boy here, but I think it wears it really well. It has 38 millimeters of heel stack, 32 millimeters of forefoot stack. Makes a 6 millimeter drop. It features the DNA Loft V3, kind of decoding that. That's their Brooks nitrogen infused foam for their daily trainers. It has their trademarked glide roll rocker geometry for that smooth mid or heel to forefoot transition, and an engineered mesh upper. It is listed at $160. I actually got this for around $80-$90 at clearance at a local sporting goods store. Wouldn't be shocked if you can find this on sale. Now, with that said, it is available in wide and extra wide sizes, but as many of you might know, wide and extra wide sizes can be a little challenging to find at discounted rates. So, discussing how the shoe fit, I really was expecting it to be like how it was for the first Ghost Max for me, which was pretty decent, but maybe could use a little extra room in the forefoot. I actually found this pretty roomy in the forefoot. Once I did my lacing that I typically have to do with most shoes, I didn't have any issues really at all with like shifting around or like it not having enough volume up on top, because sometimes it's like when I want to open up volume here, sometimes I end up shifting because of that in some shoes. But this was one where everything felt just right. It was very, not snug. Snug makes it sound like it was tight, but like it definitely felt secure, and that was a good surprise there. The upper, I wouldn't say the upper's like revolutionary. It's not necessarily like anything to really write home about, I'll say, but it is comfortable. You know, this tongue, real thick padded tongue. One thing I would say about the fit is I could see this being kind of a nightmare during the summer. It looks pretty porous, so maybe it's breathable, but I never really tried to take it out for anything more than just daily runs that were in moderate temperatures. The laces, I really like these laces that are real sturdy laces. I think that gets a little bit into projecting durability though, but we'll get there in a second. As far as the fit, didn't feel like it wasn't sloppy in the heel at all. I was really impressed with what I got here for this as far as fit. But projecting durability, this shoe, I picked a colorway that kind of has some more like earthy colors like on the bottoms, and there's no real general wear there. There are a couple little goofy spots on it, like right here. It has like a little weird bit of rubber. And I was like, oh, is that did something get stuck in it? And I was sitting there like trying to pull at it for a second. I realized, no, it's just part of the design. Interesting bit of design. I don't know if that's like to prevent like gravel from getting stuck there, like in these little like pockets of exposed foam. But that's the only spot I could see like any real wear on from that transition in, where even as somebody who strikes their lateral side quite a bit, I didn't see any real wear there either, and I think this like blown out rubber is pretty good for that. As far as like durability is concerned, I think this would be a daily trainer or an athleisure shoe that you'd get plenty of use out of. I had my pair of the Ghost Max 1 I wore for work. I wore them for a year and a half before I had to replace them, and I wore them everywhere. So like they definitely were ready for replacement by the end of it. But even then, it didn't seem like it was. It didn't seem like it was like they were falling apart. If that makes sense. But, you know, I think as far as just strictly running, walking, athleisure, I think this will be a pretty durable shoe for whoever is looking into it. Getting into ride, versatility, and value of this shoe. The ride was really comfy. It kind of matches the upper. The upper felt comfortable, no nonsense. The ride was pretty much the same. I wouldn't say it was necessarily anything revolutionary. There were days my feet were kind of tired, but I was like, I still need to do some reviews. I was looking at a couple different review copies of shoes, and I was like, these are okay. You're not dragging behind because of a little bit of extra weight in these. I'll say that much. Definitely livelier than I expected them to be, given this weight. They're pretty close to 11 ounces. I'm looking up at my other shoes, like by comparison as far as weight. I definitely felt like these were livelier than, like, say, the likes of like the Cloud Surfer Max from On, right? These had some more pop in them, and I reviewed it a couple weeks ago. I actually found this to be a more enjoyable, easy daily mile shoe than the Brooks Glycerin Max 2. Felt like maybe a little too much got thrown on the plate with that one. You ever go through the buffet and you got like the paperish plate and you got too much food and you're like, oh, this is gonna completely collapse under me. That's kind of how that shoe felt, whereas this one, everything feels in control. I will say, as far as versatility, I think this is a squarely in the middle daily trainer, easy miles, athleisure. I think that's what you're getting out of this shoe. I guess somebody could do long miles in this, but I don't think it's necessarily moving the needle positive or negative. Like if you wore this for super long miles, I think it's a matter of your endurance. I don't think the shoe is going to contribute much or detract much from your experience in that longer distance as far as running. I think it's ultimately up to the user at that point. But some people, they like having more cushioned shoes. I've talked to them. They like having like your Gel Nemesis from ASICS, your Vomero Pluses. Real plush shoes for their longer miles. Might be worth looking at then with this. Discussing value, I think $160 is still a bit way too much for this kind of shoe. I think this shoe, I got it at a steal at where I got it, I mentioned, but I'd say somewhere around like 100, 120 if you find it on sale. If you're a real die-hard enthusiast of Brooks, you want something that's wide, extra wide size, I definitely would give this a look. I'd just be hesitate to say about buying something above, kind of like what I said, my median point I'm looking at usually for shoes is around 150. 160 might be asking a bit much for these, honestly. I definitely would advise against getting the Brooks Ghost Max 2. Maybe look for a pair of the ones if you want to try to buy something older, but I definitely would avoid the 2s. The 3s, though, are really good. I'm just thinking about it. I don't know if you necessarily, unless you had like really, really wide feet, or you just didn't want to do like lacing like this, I don't think you necessarily need a wide or extra wide for this shoe, because I think it's pretty roomy as is, especially with this mesh upper. But I apologize for my dog in the background. She's been quite lively today. It's a wide and extra wide sizes are a challenging thing, and I've discussed this on the channel before, but you don't see them in stores often enough to like get a feel for. It's like, here's the standard wide, extra wide. Which one do I like best? So that puts folks who have wider feet at kind of a bit of a disadvantage, right? But if you find a wide or extra wide size on sale, go for it. But I'm saying that just knowing full well that wide, extra wide sizes very rarely go on sale, right? I think your mileage should definitely vary as far as how you feel in the value of this shoe. Final thoughts for the Brooks Ghost Max 3. I think this is a solid shoe. It is a no-nonsense daily trainer in kind of like in this middle of this review cycle, I've been using a bunch of different shoes, ranging from bold, huge swings, some of them hitting, some of them not so much, and then other ones where it's like more of the same, kind of boring. I like this. This is very consistent. This is a reliable shoe. I think that the Brooks Ghost Max is I don't want to say gold standard because I don't necessarily know how many shoes are like we have to make that. But I definitely think this is one of the ones that people think about when they think about max cushion trainers. I think that's probably a fair way to put it. I would definitely reach for a Ghost Max before I considered reaching for even like a Glycerin Max, to be honest, within their own family. Or, some of these shoes are just throwing Max on them at the end, or like Super, or it doesn't necessarily pan out. Like something like this, or like the Nike Vomero Plus, they're doing things the right way. It's giving you extra cushion, but it's not necessarily being too plush, right? My wife, she has a pair of Ghosts that I gave her, and she loves them. They're great neutral shoes. Some people love just pure neutral. I think this is just enough added on for somebody who might want a little more cushion than that without going overboard. It's not like, whoa, stack there, right? So, and I think the extra weight, a lot of it, I think, to me at least, comes from really, really good blown out rubber outsole, and this nitrogen foam is actually really comfy. Like this DNA Loft, I like that more than some of the other DNA foams that they market for Brooks shoes. With that said, I hope you found this video helpful. Hope you found it informative. Let me know if you have any questions regarding this. I make weekly reviews similar to this. With that said, please consider subscribing. Hope you're all staying healthy and safe, and I'll see you all in the next review.